Señores de Cómo, ya nos encontramos aquí con Rodrigo Santoro, aquí en México, para la premiere de Ben Hur. ¿Cómo estás, señor?
Estoy muy bien. ¿Cómo estás tú?
Y también nos encontramos con Toby Kevo. Sir, how are you?
Very well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome to Mexico.
Thank you for having me.
Estamos aquí con la productora Roma. How are you?
Good, thank you. Great to be in Mexico.
Jack Houston himself, Ben Hur. How are you, sir?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Really excited for this film to have the world premiere here in Mexico.
Yeah.
How are we treating you, sir? Are we treating you good?
Fantastic. I love Mexico. My grandfather spent the last 20 years of his life in Mexico, so like this is a place very close to my heart.
The Roman Empire expands with unrelenting force.
Today, we celebrate the power of Rome.
They rule with intimidation, fear, and death.
It's interesting how many people see Ben Hur as an untouchable film or an untouchable story. What was the thing that made you say, yes, let's do this film?
Well, I probably am not as intelligent as I pretend to be, and so I should have thought about a film that had won already 11 Oscars.
La historia. Porque Ben Hur es la película de los años 50, que es muy conocida, muy clásica. Es una versión, hay 6 versiones. Hay 2 animaciones también. Entonces, es una historia de la novela de Lou Wallace.
Well, you know, it's 1959 since the last version of Ben Hur was made. It's over 55 years ago. I'm a mother of 3 children, and when I went home and told them that my husband and I were going to be producing this amazing film, Ben Hur, they all said, Ben who?
And a story for today's audience, a lot of whom have not seen the previous movies, you know? So, you know, that was a sort of treat that we're getting the opportunity right now to bring Ben Hur to a modern audience, which is so cool.
We were retelling the story from the book. So when I started to read the book, I realized there were some big changes made.
Y es una gran épica también, hay acciones y esta versión que es inevitable la comparación con la de los años 50, pero es una película muy distinta y está más cerca de la novela, porque es justamente por el final, por el mensaje.
Welcome home, brother.
Please, I need you to tell me who Rome's enemies are.
Salah, I won't name names.
Stamp out revolt in every corner of the empire.
I grew up with my dad telling me about this film, like, oh man, when I grew up, it was amazing, big screen, you know, the horses and everything. Do you have one of those stories of growing up with, you know, Ben Hur, of this story, and now you're Judah, man?
Doing part of it.
Wow.
Well, my dad, same as that. You know, it's my father. I think was one of the. You know, I probably watched Ben Hur the first time with my dad, and it's one of those movies that plays every year in England when I was growing up.
I grew up in Ireland, and I remember gathering around the television with my family, watching the movie. It would replay every Easter time, and it became a family experience because the story was just so extraordinary.
I had a very, you know, strong memory and, you know, a beloved memory of this movie, or of, you know, the 59 version of it. So, you know, in a way I feel like such an honor and such an homage to a great story, and that this book was written over 130 years ago by General Lou Wallace.
And our film, the 2016 film, is based more on the book, so there are plot differences in the story. Anybody that remembers the Charlton Heston version will understand that. But we're hoping that for a whole new generation, this is a film that you can gather your family, you could sit with your grandmother and your children. There'll be something in this movie for everybody.
These are great characters. As an actor, you're looking for great characters, and you know, Judah Ben Hur, you're not going to get a better character than that.
You know we've done nothing wrong. Rome's calling for blood. Crucify them.
No!
God has a plan for you.
But interesting, in spite of the technology we have today, it seems like the film is really practical. It has a lot of sets, a lot of real things around it, and when it has to use CGI, you guys use it, but you almost go practical like 90% of the time? 90%
of the time, yeah, no CGI. We tried to, I think it was very important for Timur and for us as the actors to experience everything, because that's a surefire way to lose an audience.
Now with the technology, it's actually, we can do practical and still give that very real performance. So For us, we weren't pretending. We were doing 40 miles an hour around that track with the horses.
Filmando, rodando en una ciudad, una locación de verdad, donde todas las cosas a tu vuelta te puede alimentar. Estás mirando en los ojos del actor y estás cambiando emociones.
You didn't feel that we were actually doing that. Every time you see us with those horses, if you didn't feel we were on those chariots, racing around that track, people wouldn't care. So it was very much, when we first sat down with Timur, he was like, you have to experience everything so the audience can experience everything.
So what we had was an emergency. This is a secret, but we had an emergency brake because I am not strong enough to pull 4 horses to a stop if something goes wrong. So we had an emergency, which was a second set of man's strength to pull them. So if everything went bad, we clamped our knees into his back, and he pulled and we pulled together.
It's very visceral, it's very real. It's like, I mean, we trained tirelessly to get to that stage where we could actually do that. It took about 3.5 months of training before we even set foot on those, chariots on screen. So it was an amazing experience.
When we were doing our scenes of dialogue on the chariots, we had to take the horses down to a super slow speed or be on the back of a truck because the horses are kicking up so... You're riding like this.
Yeah.
And this doesn't look great on camera.
Es un cambio, entonces son formas diferentes de trabajar. Yo creo que para hablar del lenguaje de hoy, el software son softwares distintos. Hay que trabajar de una forma, trabajar de otra, porque son igualmente importantes para el artista, creo yo.
How long were you a slave?
5 years.
What is your name?
Ben Hur.
I love how this story has many subjects, has family, brotherhood, forgiveness, vengeance. What would be the thing that you would love audience to come out of the theater talking about?
A message of hope,
Yeah.
forgiveness, redemption.
Yes, it's a story of revenge and of anger, but through an encounter with Jesus Christ, the story takes a big turn when our leading character, Judah Ben Hur, understands that the only way forward is to forgive.
Es siempre muy complicado hablar de un mensaje. Yo creo que el ser humano es tan complejo y está siempre... Hay gente que va a comprender de una forma, se va a tocar de una forma, hay gente que de otra. Entonces, decir, ese es el mensaje, pero me encantaría que fuera una sensación, una reflexión, un sentimiento de cómo vale la pena el perdón.
In today's world, there's so much hatred, so much anger, animosity, and it's so much easier to love than hate. And if people can leave the theatre and want to do good to our fellow man, show more humanity, I think that's important, very important.
Jack, thank you very much.
Brother, thank you, man. Yeah, me too, man. What a pleasure, dude.
Thank you very much for telling me that. Have a great day.
You too, brother.
Rodrigo, muchísimas gracias y felicidades por la película.
Bueno, muchas gracias.
Are we having fun now, brother? You have no idea what you've done!
First to finish, last to die.
Como molestando, no sé, ustedes lo van a ver y me dicen qué tal les pareció. Pero ya a partir de este viernes se estrena El Buen Amigo Gigante.
I'm going to call you BFG.
Otra peli que se estrena este fin